Good morning, everybody. Jim Feist and Hank Goldberg in Las Vegas. Hank, you did it again. I think you were 5-1 or 6-1 again this week. I was right behind you with 5-2. So we both had a great week, but you've been just kicking ass. But congratulations.
Yeah, I know on the CBS show, the last 3 weeks, I'm 16-4. So
that's pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Wow. Well, it's pretty much a repeat of what you did last year. You did the same thing last year.
I don't think I was this hot over a 3-week period.
Wow. Well, I know one of the teams that you didn't do well with was the Ravens, and they went up to Cleveland, and Cleveland went into their third overtime game of the season, which is kind of remarkable that you could do that.
Well, the Ravens defense played very well. They've been averaging 14 points a game on defense, and they exceeded that. They only gave up 9 points in regulation. But Flacco was horrible. I mean, really played a bad game. He couldn't hit anything. And they, in fact, they were behind 9-6. They got down to the 2-yard line, and they couldn't get the ball into the end zone, and they had to settle for a field goal. And he had 3 horrible plays, in the red zone. Didn't come close to completing a pass. And didn't try to run the ball at all, and they had their play selection was bad, and so they settled for a field goal there, and there was 9-9 going into overtime, and they just the defense had been on the field so much that they finally just caved, and I think they had a penalty that set up, and one long play. And it wasn't the quarterback who beat him as much as it was the fact that Flacco was so bad. All he had to do was complete one pass, and they win the game by 4 points, and they cover.
Right. Well,
he throws in stinkers from time to time, usually when he's in the state of Ohio for some reason.
Well, Cleveland is on a roll. They have 2 wins this year already, and that's more than they've had in the last couple of years together. That's pretty amazing.
Yep. That's the game they would have lost in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Their defense is playing very well right now.
Yeah, it is. Jacksonville with their defense, everybody kind of thought, not everybody, but a lot of people thought that they would go up to Kansas City and give them a hard time, but that game was over really quick.
Well, I wasn't one of them. I think that Kansas City team is better on defense than people give them credit for, and sure enough, they came up with 4 interceptions in the game against Bartles, and that was good enough. And they were never in trouble in the game. I mean, they got off to a good start and stayed ahead, and when Jacksonville is forced to throw the ball, it's not a good thing. So I was very confident about that game, particularly when Schrager on the NFL channel started talking about how he and the guy on Fox channel who used to work in Las Vegas, who has a talk show. When they say the same thing, that they're talking to one another. And they were talking about how, the young quarterback has never had to play a game in the snow. Well, it wasn't snowing there. And I made a point that they did have heavy rain. And, Kenny White and I made the point, and Kenny agreed with me. I said that when it rains on that field gets hard to move on. and it hurts the defense as bad as it hurts the offense. The offense knows where it's going, and the defense finds itself kind of slipping around in that off field, and that's what happens.
That is true. I've said that very same thing for years. It's much harder to react when an offensive player does something when the field is wet. Well, the Buffalo Bills came up with another victory, and they beat the Tennessee Titans.
I had that game. I had them and the Jets both.
No,
and,
the Jets destroyed.
Now the guy on the NFL Network is ripping after he came out and started praising Tennessee. Remember what I said about Tennessee? They were in a sandwich. It was what I refer to it as a sandwich for whatever they call that area in around Washington. They had kind of between
the Beltway.
The Beltway sandwich, because they had the win the week before and the upset against Philadelphia, and next week they have Baltimore. So it was a perfect letdown situation for them, and they didn't let me down. So, Buffalo, remember, had a win against Minnesota earlier, and so they came up with they almost didn't win the game. They were going to cover no matter what, and they came through with that last second field goal to win the game. And the other game was the Jets, where Denver came in there with a 1-11 win on the road. Now they're 1-12. 1-12, their last 13 road games. They can't win on the road, and the Jets, the quarterback had a good game for them, and but they set a record for rushing that had been in their books for a long time, and Denver just couldn't stop the running game, and did nothing offensively. Case Keenum is having a terrible time. The Jets really shut him down. So those were two huge upset wins for New York-based teams, upstate and, the Meadowlands.
Yeah, and the Giants almost got an upset win, too. They got it down to the last second. They almost had it won.
Yeah.
Yeah, they covered the number, but they were up 31-30 with no time on the clock, and Gano hits a 63-yarder for the win. That was a good New York day as far as point spreads are concerned.
I'll tell you a game that in prime time that I found kind of annoying because the announcers never really made a big deal about it. But at the end of the half, they're making a big deal today because Dallas didn't go for it on fourth down when the ball was on a 42-yard line. They thought their defense would be able to hold up and they'd get the ball back, which didn't happen. And so the Dallas coach is getting ripped today. But at the end of the half, they had the ball, and on the last play, it was 4th down and 2. And goal to go. And instead of kicking a field goal and going in with a 3-point lead, where points were very scarce in that game, they tried to go for it on 4th and 2, and they ran a sweep, and the quarterback got nailed for a loss on the play, so they went in the locker room without taking a lead. Would have made a huge difference in the way the second half was played. And they would have had the lead, and they didn't make a big deal out of it. And I thought, and Collinsworth actually said that he agreed with the decision because it wasn't a big factor. It was an enormous factor. Big difference when you have a tie and you're playing with a 3-point lead. And, of course, they wound up getting away with it because they did tie the game. But instead of tying the game at that point, they would have extended a lead at that point and made it a 6-point game, which completely changes the way the game is played. That was a big steal, and that could have been another stupid play on the coach's side for Houston. But in any event, Houston's now in the race in that division, and the quarterback's playing all right. The defense is good, and that division is pretty weak.
Yeah,
they got a chance.
It really is pretty weak. Luck is the best quarterback, but they don't have much of a team around him. I like Watson, but I think he just reminds me of RG3 a lot. He gets hit too much. I worry about that. He takes too many big shots.
I think he's better, a lot better than RG3, because he's got his judgment is a lot better, and he's got a real good throwing. He's got a real good throwing motion, and he's got some good receivers, and he can complete passes. And I think there's daylight between him and RG3. The only resemblance is that he'll run, and he doesn't hesitate to run. And I think he's a better runner than RG3.
As long as he can stay healthy, that style just makes me nervous. He took some huge hits in that game.
He did.
It's that generally doesn't hold up for a long time when you're getting hit by people that size and that strong. And they're so fast. And anyway, that's who he is. He plays his game, and I hope he stays healthy because he is good. I don't like his coach, but be that as it may, he's there.
O'Brien.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. His play calling is a little bit strange.
I thought that was a horrible decision to not take a lead into the locker room at halftime and try to go for a touchdown instead of taking the 3 points. That was just dumb.
I agree with you. Pittsburgh lit up at Atlanta. Atlanta's defense is really hurt, and their offense hasn't been the same since they lost Shanahan a couple of years ago, except on a couple occasions, and definitely not when they're on the road. But
now Julio hasn't scored a touchdown yet this year.
That's unbelievable. As good as he is, it's unbelievable. Yeah. Green Bay
They're
Packers.
going nowhere. They're going nowhere. Their defense is bad. That race is going to be between, I think, Carolina and
Saints
and New Orleans. And New Orleans could be a tough game tonight. A guy on the NFL Network this morning said Drew Brees is the second best quarterback in history, behind Brady. Another absurd statement. I'm beginning to get so aggravated watching that show. I'm not going to watch it anymore. I just watch it to get the injury reports at the breaks. But there must be another alternative. There must be an alternative to that show. Those people are morons.
Ever since the PASPA has been lifted, the ban, there's so many more people getting into the prognostication business, and they do say
they've been at it a long time, and I thought they were going to improve the show this year because they hired a couple of producers away from ESPN who were very good, but the show's out of control right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of information out there that's going to cost people a lot of money because it's not very valid stuff. Breeze is very good, but the second best in history? No, I can't see that.
I'll tell you something. Kenny and I agreed on every game that we predicted this weekend.
Wow.
We couldn't find a game that we disagreed on, and we hit on every one but one.
That's pretty damn good.
He's good. He's very good.
Yeah, he is. I've known Kenny a long time. He's very good at what he does. Anything else on the card that you want to talk about?
Well, the Rams had a tough game. Seattle gave them a tough game, but remember, two of the Rams wide receivers got knocked out early with concussions, but they still came through in the finish, and they had a situation where they had a fourth down, and they were ready to turn the ball over to Seattle, and instead the coach decided to go for quarterback sneak around midfield, keep the ball, and they made it, and then they just had to run out the clock. There's a coach who you can see why his players like him, because he has confidence in his players. And the coach in Arizona got his first win. They beat Seattle. Although Beathard had another big game, he threw for over 300 yards. He's not doing all that bad. Seattle just has other issues, or San Francisco has other issues on that team. Then there was the Philadelphia losing at home to Minnesota, who got revenge from last year. And I'll tell you, the quarterback for Minnesota is playing well. Denver might wonder why they didn't take him instead of Keenum. And something's wrong with Philadelphia. They just can't get a win right now. Next week they play the Giants. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants went in there and beat them.
Well, actually, the Giants are at home. They're getting 3 points from Philly. That's Philly's favor on the road by 3. Yep.
Well, they're not playing well right now, and part of their problems are on defense, which helped carry them last year. And things are so bad with them offensively that the fans are starting to clamor for the backup quarterback.
Yeah, I can understand it. No question. The coach is on the hot seat. Who do you think goes first?
Well, I don't think the coach is going to go on a hot seat after winning the Super Bowl last year.
Well, no, not that one. No. I meant any coach. Who do you think goes first?
Oh, among the coaches, I think the coach in Dallas is in trouble.
I would put the one that you always talk you don't like is the Denver coach. I think he's ready to go.
Yeah, I think he's right there too. I mean, he's won and 12 on the road. Going to lose to the Jets the way he did, they got blown out by the Jets.
Oh yeah, the Jets dominated over 500 yards in offense. For God's sake, it's amazing. Yeah, the Jets had 512 yards in offense. They never do that. They ran the ball for 323 yards. Crazy. There's something going on there. Anything you want to...
Well, the West is, I guess, when they get Bosa back, if they can hang in there until they do, I think that the Los Angeles Chargers are going to be a factor.
Yeah, Rivers played a very good game yesterday. He really did.
Well, he was playing against a team with no defense.
Yep, they 412 yards on offense. They didn't run the ball very well. 79 yards, but it was all Chargers. 22 of 27 passing, 11.89 yards per.
Well, he's playing catch. When you play the Raiders, you're playing catch. They have no pass rush, and I don't think they're going to win 6 games this year.
The Raiders
Although
if you
read Musburger's column in the Review Journal on Saturday, he was writing about how if they had a win Sunday could have put them right in the hunt in the West.
Yeah, well, that was taken care of quickly. They go over to London now to play Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will. Well, it'll be an up-tempo game at least. I mean, Seattle has found a couple of running backs in Carson and Davis, and Carson looks like a rebirth of the Beast. You know, and they're meeting up against each other next week. Interesting matchup. Hank, you got a big week coming up again. Same thing. Baseball today. There's a couple games today, which is real interesting. Milwaukee tied it up. They got themselves a series victory. They move on. Atlanta saved themselves with a tight win yesterday, playing the Dodgers. Yankees and Boston renew their rivalry in New York. That's a big one. And everybody, you need plays, you want to win, go to jimfeist.com. Hank's plays and my plays are there. We've been winning. If you're not going there, if you're not getting these picks, you're costing yourself money. Thank you, Hank. I appreciate your time today.
You know what? I find myself interested in the Yankee-Red Sox series, and outside of that, I can't bring myself to watch these games. I don't know why. I just think it's a totally, I don't know, maybe the series leading into the World Series will be more interesting, but so far, I can't get into it. It's kind of like soccer to me right now.
Well, I've been doing very well in baseball, and I am into it. But you know, most of the series haven't been very competitive. They've been blowouts. I mean, Milwaukee, you know, they swept it. And you know, the Dodgers were sweeping, but they lost one. But in any case, it's you know, I'm watching them, I'm enjoying them, and winning money. So it's all good. JimFeist.com, folks. Thanks for listening today. Thank you, Hank, for your time. Appreciate it.
Hey, by the way, before we go, I thought that the Texas-Oklahoma game was as good a football game as I've seen all year. That Texas quarterback is really good, and not just because I picked him, but I thought that, you know, they kept talking about the Oklahoma quarterback and he being a Heisman candidate and whatnot. And I thought the Texas quarterback carried that team, and I thought he looked great. And that Texas team is very well coached, but that was a great game, really exciting.
It was. College football does bring some really exciting games. It's a great sport. We don't talk too much about it on the website, but or on the podcast, but perhaps we should. Hank, you have a great day. Enjoy your week, and we'll talk to you again Wednesday.
Happy Columbus Day.
You too.